After 21 years of working, Brittany went to a high school reunion with a girl who is a mutual friend in common named Julie. Julie's best friend from the 8th grade, the Christian school they both went to in 8th grade, hosted the murder party for all the human trafficking for Hollywood and the international slave trade for LGBT rights to work minimum wage. Her friend, who hosted this party through the founders of that church, Mountain View Church, for 30 years, hosted the party to party on drugs Monday through Sunday, and it's satanic worship for LGBT rights for minimum wage. Julianne Sandberg met Brittany 20 years after her career. She began in 9th grade. This is her 8th grade school acquaintance through her 8th grade friend. Julie dated the founder of Playboy, along with her prostitute friend, Juliet. Julie had done drugs. She was best friend with this drug addict who hosted the slave trade for all of Hollywood that the real anti-slave trade supermodels and talents and producers are exploited by. There was a cliff drop-off, and it's a Halloween party Monday through Sunday with this cliff drop-off next to a movie theater where LGBT rights were recruited from people's houses when their parents forced counseling and they're human trafficked, and they witnessed girls being gang raped who came out of there with the music producers for Michael Jackson and the slave trade. But the real anti-slave trade supermodels, talent, and producers worked for 21 years. Julie's friend hosted this party. Brittany saw Julie's friend, who's a murderer, who hosted this party for the founders of the church Brittany's parents went to for 30 years at Disneyland when she went to family and went along with them to Disneyland. Separately, she saw this girl, Grace, who grew up with the church and hosted this murder party Monday through Sunday on drugs for LGBT rights for minimum wage, city to suburbia, where they human trafficked innocent millennials in Brittany's network, her other middle schools who were LGBT rights for minimum wage after 20 years of working at Starbucks in Mission Viejo. It's LGBT rights that human trafficked Brittany's network, who were managers, valet at hotels, injected with Botox after being made homeless from Christian households who didn't understand it cost $35 and a place to live, but also to stop manual labor. So they ran out of money and they were human trafficked by these LGBT rights people for slave trade, people their same age, who were kicked out, counseled, tortured, and gang raped, and became Satanists with Satanic productions. Julie's friend Juliet is a prostitute who slept with 40 people a day. She came from a Christian middle-class household in Palm Springs. Juliet commuted in 4 hours of traffic to work for $20 per hour. She's like most girls who were kicked out at 20 in order to work minimum wage. Her mom spoke in tongues and went to the Christian church. It's blessed by God to go to the Christian church, but this happened with too many of them. So Julie took drugs with her friend Juliet, and Brittany dropped them off at the club. She had invited Julie and her friend to go to church with her at City Church. Brittany found out about this church through Kennedy Barnes, who was with Aston, her agency, when Brittany went to a hair casting. This Christian girl was commuting from Chico. Brittany invited Julie and her prostitute friend Juliet to go to the church. She was meant to go, and Kennedy had said that the acting is at that church with William Morris, CAA, and IMG, but Brittany's more successful. than the slave trade for William Morris, IMG, and CAA, recruited through the charities for LGBT rights for minimum wage, Satanic Productions. Britney was right next to Disney stars, where Britney rejected the role for slave trade, and the Kardashians paid off slave trade to do satanic worship. Britney's responsible for why that entire church theater were protected from ISIS, from being tortured and killed, because it's satanic worship Britney rejected for the past 21 years, when they're kicked out and cut off in order to be models, talent, producers, but also minimum wage. Britney was meant to find out about this party for Playboy that exploited the real models, talent, and producers by Satanic Productions for LGBT rights for minimum wage, among stable jobs and human trafficking victims through their family and the counseling and the churches of all religions, paid off by a bribe by the celebrities. Britney was meant to go to this party to find out about Julie's friend Grace, who hosted this party for 21 years with an orgy upstairs with a drug dealer to have them drugged and gang raped for Satanic Productions. And Britney didn't go upstairs. She wasn't invited. And she waited in line to go to the bathroom, like she was ditched at parties for the past 21 years, ditched for the party scene. And she said hello to the casting directors and her agent and stayed there for 10 minutes as all the people there partied on drugs, dead inside, and Britney left. She's worked as a 21-year professional anti-slave trade supermodel, talent, producers, along with anti-slave trade supermodels, talent, and producers who worked with an agency rate, who are owed the money according to federal law to be paid from the occult, when they're exploited by selfies from people's parents' houses as people who are not signed with agencies, who do nudes from their parents' house, who are prostitutes from their parents' house, and their parents have them human trafficked from their parents' house in order to get nude and be drugged. So they were exploited by selfies, where they're paid as the anti-slave trade top percentage supermodels, talent, and producers, 21 years, 10 and 5, who did not party promote, prostitute, do nudes, implieds are fine with celebrity editorials for any published A-list editorial.